Hello there. Email and Coffee with Joy Brooks. This conversation that I had with my guest, Rebecca Babcock, was lively but somber. The topic was very personal, and Rebecca is very brave. Although she's a new friend, I discovered we have something in common: alcoholism. And now, Rebecca Babcock. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you so much. We are new friends, but it sounds like we're very old friends in terms of our similarities in mindset and approach to life. My name is Rebecca Babcock, and I am the founder of Rebecca Babcock Coaching and the creator of the Babcock Method. But more importantly than that, I would say, regardless of what I do for a living, I am a warrior. I am objectively, to my own fault, optimistic. I'm a truth teller. And I think I'm kind of a badass. Sorry if we can't swear. But
You can swear.
That's who I am. And the reason why I know that's true is because my life has been quite lifey. And I've really had the opportunity to figure out and know when, the stuff hits the fan, how I show up. And not everybody, it's a different way of looking at life being very difficult. And I'll say one more thing, and that is, I often ask my clients, what is your personal brand? And they'll be like, I have no idea. It's a hard question. Even as I was a marketer for a long time, but it's still a hard question. And my answer is a hashtag, which shows you I'm not young or cool anymore. But the hashtag is still rolling, which is medically true. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I had my entire colon removed in an emergency surgery when I was 38 years old. I've had a chronic illness since I was 16. That surgery ended up being 5 surgeries over about 2.5 years to totally rebuild my digestive tract without a colon. But the reason why I say that's who I am, that's my brand, is because that has to do with work. It has to do with life. It has to do with health. It has to do with relationships. And what it means is life's going to happen. And I'm going to keep going. So no colon still rolling has it has to do with everything. So that's who I am. 45 years old. I live in New York City. I apologize for that loud noise. And I've been...
I'm back.
Here we are. I've been a professional coach for about 3 years. I spent 21 years in corporate America before then. I have no colon. I'm still rolling. I'm 9 years sober from alcohol. I work a 12-step program. I'm a daughter.
That is what we're going to be talking about before we go there.
Yep. No, all of those are parts of who I am.
Mm-hmm. And it's when you take everything that's happened to ourselves, and like you did, you turned it into a brand. It's not. It's how you you're handed lemons and you make lemonade, and you things happen. Things happen in life to all of us. Whether you're of privilege or not, things are still happening. It's really how you look at them and what you're going to do with them when they happen. When the shit hits the fan, you can cry, but what happens after the emotional breakdown? What do you do?
Cry. You should cry.
Exactly. The point is, hey, right now I'm a little confused and I'm all, I'm verklempt. I'm going to cry. I'm going to get it out of my system. What is the guy going to do? He's, maybe, going to go punch a wall in. Things that my husband used to do. But in the meantime, what happens after that point? What do you do? You've got to move forward. You can't stay frozen.
And you can. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably the biggest piece of feedback that I've gotten from people is like, how did you keep, because it's not just childhood stuff, divorce in my early 30s. There was a lot of things that have gone on. And a lot of people have said to me, why do you keep going? Or,
how?
I have a weakness that is it's in my stomach, right? It has to do with digestion. There's a lot of people that are like, this is embarrassing. It's awkward. It's difficult. They get as sick as I am or have been. They get on disability and they live really small at home. And I'm not going to do it.
Mm.
So I think the question is not, a lot of times people ask me, why you? And I spent a good amount of time being like, why me? I've done everything right. I'm a good kid. I'm smart. I'm hardworking. I'm kind. I'm all these things. Why me? And what I learned, and this is where my life changed right around when I got sober, started to say, why not me? Mm-hmm. And what I believe to be true for me is that I am a truth teller. And that if anybody's going to have ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease in which my body thinks that my colon is a foreign object and is constantly attacking it, it should be me, because I'm going to talk about what it was like when I had an ostomy bag on the outside of my body, when I had to wear adult diapers, when these are the things that people need to know, because they look at me and they say, you couldn't possibly be sick. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just like another disease that I happen to have, which is called alcoholism, which is silent, can be deadly, has no known cause and no known cure. Mm-hmm. And no one would walk up to me and go, oh, that woman probably lives life without a colon and hasn't drunk alcohol in 9.5 years.
Mm-hmm. And she's got a thriving business and just keeps going.
And I'm proud of, I'm a badass.
Right.
It doesn't mean my life's perfect at all, but it means I'm in charge of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Regardless of what happens.
So, here you are, you're going through, you've got autoimmune issues. So your body, it's doing all these wild things. You get married and that doesn't work. You're at work and that's not working. So, you have a few drinks and you're feeling okay. And then suddenly you turn around at some point in time and you're like, who's in control of the situation?
Yep.
And I have this phrase, I call it, when I see shit happening around me, I have this, it's cold, but unfortunately, I say to myself, just ate alcohol. A lot of bad things happen on alcohol. A lot of people say, oh, I'm just relaxing. Can't wait till Friday, have my drink, or when I get home, I have a cocktail. A lot of bad things happen on alcohol.
And in my experience, just because I can only speak for myself and what I went through, is I don't have a story that involves jail or drunk driving or rehab or anything like that. I have a story in which I was raised a certain way. And the plan was, I went to an all-girls preparatory school in Greenwich, Connecticut. Then I went to Vanderbilt University, joined a sorority. I graduated magna cum laude. I moved back to New York. I got a job at Vogue, and then a job at GQ, and then a job at Glamour. I met a man. We got married. And the checklist was all lining up to do exactly what I was a debutante, right? Exactly as I was raised. My marriage fell apart after 2.5 years. I was divorced after 2.5 years. My career fell apart. You may have noticed magazines aren't quite what they used to be. And my solution, I never drank alcoholically, not in high school, not in college, because nice girls don't get drunk and nice girls don't get arrested and nice girls, and I was a good girl. I was a good girl. And I started drinking. Granted, my ex-husband is a chef and a restaurant owner. So you go out in one of his restaurants, fabulous restaurant, it was across the street from our apartment. I never had to go to a liquor store. I never had to buy wine. It was like...
And wine is very chic.
Free. Exactly. And what happened was when our marriage ended and my illness was getting worse, I was really sick and I had no job. The voices in my head that were like, you're a loser. You're doing this wrong. You got to right this ship, girl. What are you going to do? You got to figure this out. Either find a new husband and make babies, or you got to crush it in your career. Because if you don't have a husband and kids, you got to be worth something. You got to do something. And it was crippling to me. And so what I did was I sat at home. I listened to Joni Mitchell. Love her. I drank about a bottle and a half of wine.
She has a
Smoked.
song, I'm sure, if I can remember the name of the song. She's drinking wine in the song, but go ahead.
The song is called A Case of You.
Yes, there you, thank you. You see, I know. I could drink.
And I,
okay.
yes. And I smoked cigarettes and I cried.
Uh-huh.
And then I woke up and I went back to work and I kept doing it. And ultimately the story was I saw everyone else's life continue to progress. And I was stuck where I'd been when I was 28 years old, when life was good and I had a big fancy job and I had a fabulous husband and a huge engagement ring and a cool life because we traveled all over the world because he owned restaurants and he was a chef, and that's fabulous and chic. But I was 35. And it's real simple. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's where it switched. From that day, before that day, it was why me? Pour me, pour me, pour me, pour me a drink. You know, you drink too if your marriage ended, you were sick, you had a job that fell apart.
Yeah,
like
everybody's drinking. It's like, let's go out and have it. You're feeling bad. Let's go out. We'll have, we'll have a few drinks. Everybody's doing it.
I wasn't drinking socially. I was drinking at home. I would start out drinking with other people, but no one wanted to drink the way I wanted to drink. And at that age, by 35, my friends had to go relieve their babysitters. And I was like, yeah, I'm just getting warmed up here. So that was it. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of being the victim, of being a worrier. And so I basically said, I'm going to stop drinking. And if I'm not going to drink, I'm going to have to deal with the stuff that I was drinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the most fun.
Yeah.
And it took me 6 years after I quit drinking to make other moves in my life, to create a career for myself that better aligned with who I really was. It took me having 5 surgeries. That all happened once I'd stopped drinking. And that's where it's like, are you kidding me? I got sober and now you're going to do this to me? But it all makes sense now. It all worked out the way.
You would have killed yourself otherwise.
And my drinking wasn't, there was no drugs in my story, which is kind of boring. There's no drugs, and my drinking wasn't out of control. I wasn't drinking a handle of vodka. I was drinking 5 glasses of wine every single day.
So you were drinking, well, you know, you were drinking a bottle by yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Bottle by yourself. If you opened it, you drank it. And that's sort of where I was.
100%. Are you kidding me? If it was open, it was done.
It was done. Right.
And then it became, the one bottle became sort of like, well, I just want to have 1 glass from that. Wake up the next day, demoralized.
With a headache.
I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to stop talking.
Okay.
And I want to say this for anyone who's listening as it relates to sobriety, because everyone is on their own journey and everyone has their own thing that they do. I'm a member of a 12-step program and I believe in that. And I want to explain to you just really quickly the definition of alcoholism as I understand it. It's not about how much you drink. It's not about how often you drink. It's not about if you black out or you don't black out. It's not about getting arrested or getting a DUI or, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink in the morning, or I don't get the shakes, because I didn't have any of those things happen. I wasn't a blackout drinker. I didn't drink in the morning. I didn't have the shakes that I know of. The definition of alcoholism is this. Once I started drinking, I didn't know when I would stop. Maybe I'd have a glass of wine. Maybe I'd have 6. But if I said to you before I started drinking, 1 glass of wine, that would be a very untrue. I don't know.
Yeah.
So once I start, I can't stop. So if it was as simple as that being the definition of alcoholism, well, then you just wouldn't start.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But what is combined with once I start, I can't stop, which is an allergy, is what we call a mental obsession, which is once I've stopped, when I'm laying in bed with a brutal hangover, the entire apartment smells like cigarettes. There's glasses everywhere and takeout food for days. Stone cold sober, knowing the consequences of my actions, which for some people are jails, institutions, death, knowing the consequences that came as the direct result of drinking, I drink again.
Right.
Once I start, I can't stop. Once I stop, I start again.
Right.
And most people think it's a willpower thing. Well, I'll be more disciplined.
No.
But if you have that unique combination, there's no amount of willpower that's going to help, because once you start, you can't stop. And once you stop, you start again.
No, it's a lot more than willpower. My husband was an alcoholic. And It was just beer when we first started dating. And then it became vodka.
Mm-hmm.
And I preferred smoking pot. So I smoked pot and he would drink and we would just call it a night. And it was
Mm-hmm.
fun and happy and haha. And
Right.
we both had jobs. We both, did what we did. As he started getting older, it became more of an issue. But he worked every single day.
Right.
But the brand was Harry's, Harry's having a few drinks. That was the brand.
Right.
And he didn't realize that. I mean, I still saw Harry as many other things, but that was becoming his brand.
Right.
And I just smoked more pot.
Right.
And there was a point in, maybe 5 years ago, where I had a lovely glass of Merlot, a bottle of Merlot, and a few roll joints. And at the end of the evening, I said, "This is it. I'm done.
Wow.
I'm done. I don't even feel good. I feel on the verge of losing control."
Mm.
The truth was, my husband had cancer,
Mm.
and I realized he could need me right now, and I'm in no shape to help anybody.
Ooh,
I'm in
yeah.
no shape. So what am I doing here? So the two of us are now out for the count.
Mm.
So that was it, and I attribute it to willpower, but it was more because he was the alcoholic.
Right.
I wasn't the alcoholic. I was drinking, but I was the pot addict.
Right.
Now, they say pot is not addictive, but it took a long time for me to not see myself smoking pot.
Yep.
I kept saying, "Oh, I'll slow down. I won't drink when I'm smoking." All these excuses until I said to myself, "No, no, no."
Negotiations. Yeah.
I've just
I'll
got
only drink on the weekends. I'll only drink on Saturdays.
right.
I deserve it. F it.
Exactly. And I didn't go to AA, but I joined Al-Anon.
Yep. I was just going to say.
It's the same steps.
And I don't know if everyone listening knows the difference. Al-Anon is more for people who have a sibling, a parent, a spouse, a best friend, a boss who is, first of all, no one can define somebody else as an alcoholic. Only they can decide.
Right.
But who have a relationship with alcohol that's affecting you in your life.
Exactly. I mean, it can be even, I've seen people in Al-Anon for abusive relationships.
It does come down a lot of times to codependent behavior.
Yes.
So your happiness is dependent upon whether or not your husband is drunk.
Exactly. And what I discovered was that was never the case for me.
Mm.
That I had put myself in the box.
Yep. Okay.
I needed to get myself out of the box.
Yep.
And once that was incredibly freeing for me. And I have to thank my husband for that.
Mm.
And I realize, I say to myself this all the time, had he not been who he was, had I not married him, had I married someone else, I don't know if I would have ever gotten out of the box. I don't know if I would have ever realized, you said that you're a badass. I would never have realized the badass that I am.
You know. Yeah, how would you know? You would
have been middle of the lining along, going, "Okay, I've got a job. Oh, this job is over. I'll get another job. Oh, it's okay." There was at some point where I thought to myself, "I am woman, hear me roar." And I just kept going. And as an example, I have a mastermind that I run for women. My husband died on a Wednesday.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It was Wednesday, and the mastermind was Friday, and I went to the meeting. I
Mm.
held the meeting.
Mm.
Because it was therapy for me, and because my life's got to keep on going. What am I going to do if I don't go to this meeting?
Yep.
It's not like there was something that I needed to do. I needed to be here, or I needed to help this person. I needed to help myself.
Yep. There you
And
go.
the mastermind helps me help other people. So there I was.
There's a way that I like to say it, which is this, and this is what you're saying when you realize esteemable acts are what build self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people will say, well, once I have more confidence, I'll be no.
Can't buy it in the store.
You do. So I have this whole philosophy in the way that I coach, and I think about it like a pyramid. Okay. And the bottom of the pyramid is awareness. So a lot of times what happens is the next 4 parts of this pyramid, bottom is awareness, then action, then confidence, and then choice. This will come back around in a second. So a lot of times we jump into action, right? We're so busy doing things and we don't really understand why we're doing it or what's working or what isn't, or what kind of like your bigger picture, what your personal brand is, right? So you do this and you do that and you try from this. Maybe I need a little wine. Maybe I need to change jobs. Maybe I need to find a new guy today. And that without understanding who we are, what really matters, what motivates, what's unique that makes me me? Why am I on this planet Earth? Any action you take is like a Band-Aid. But once you're aware and you take action, then you start to build your confidence because you try doing something. And if it's the right thing, great. The mastermind was the right thing. Awesome. If it's not, you drop back down to awareness. What worked? What didn't? Why? What's a new action? So those esteemable acts are what build your self-esteem and build your confidence. And then the top of the pyramid is being in choice, meaning I know what works for me and what doesn't in every aspect of my life. So I can choose to drink again. Every day I choose not to, because today it doesn't seem like it's going to serve me in terms of what I really want out of my life, which is serenity, fulfillment, peace, satisfaction. And alcohol gives me all those things for at least an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then
It's kind of funny because I believe this. I firmly believe sobriety is the new high.
It's become very popular. That's for sure.
There's a certain amount of, I don't know how to explain it. I have never felt so high being sober in my entire life. When I have a thought now, I'm able, because I'm clear, I'm sober. I can actually act on it, put it on the back burner, remember to do it later, but I'm not constantly reacting to the circumstances around me, where I'm on a roll, I'm on like a snowball, and suddenly it's just so damn huge, it doesn't fit in the door anymore, and what do you do with it?
Right. Yeah.
So I am very much aware that I can choose. I like your pyramid, and I like esteemable action. I can choose, but I realize the limitation to control that I have. That I'm in an environment with lots of things going on around me, and at any minute I'm going to need to pivot, and that's the clarity that I am enjoying now. And the high is, I guess maybe it's dopamine, that high that I am challenged and I'm there for the challenge, as opposed to drugged out of the challenge where I have no idea. I don't, what is my body doing right now? It's not even aware. I don't even know what.
Right.
I don't know what happens to dopamine when you drink too much. I don't know what happens to serotonin when you drink too much.
Yeah, it's both of them. I mean, here's the way I would describe it. If you asked me when I was 35, which is how old I was when I quit drinking, what's the problem in your life right now? I would say, it's my ex-husband, it's my job, it's my health, it's my childhood, it's my parents, it's lack of money, it's all these things. And it's interesting because when I changed one thing, which was alcohol, which was not the problem, it was the solution. All those other problems seem to get easier, better, or go away. But I will say, I don't have your experience. I knew I was drinking too much. And I thought it was a willpower thing. And I thought, I just need to get my act together. I just need to buckle down. I just need to be better. I would give up drinking every year for Lent. And that proved that I wasn't an alcoholic, because I was fine to not drink for however long it was. But what was I thinking about that whole time?
That glass.
Easter.
Yeah.
Easter Day.
Really?
Let's go. That's when Lent is over. So I love my family. I've drank over my family for many years. I stay sober in part to, be respectful and to them. We had a house in Vermont. I was there for Labor Day weekend. It's also where I got married. So it's a place that has a lot of emotional attachment. And basically my family said to me, I'm a WASP. I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And one of the telltales is we don't talk about feelings, period. You put it out in the shed, you lock the door, and you never bring it up again. You just brush that right under the rug. You make sure you look nice for the cocktail party. Put your nice smile, put your lipstick on, put your face on, and let's go. So my family said to me, it was my father, my mother, my sister and her husband, my half brother, but I don't do that. His wife happened to be there as well. And basically my parents and my family said to me, you drink too much. And I was like, you would too. If you were sick, if you're married, none of you have had happen what's happened to me. My career ended, my marriage ended, my health went to garbage. Like, what would you like me to do? And they were like, you're just being defensive because blah, blah, blah. And then when I said, you're right, I do drink too much, they were like, you're just agreeing with us so that we'll stop talking about this. And they didn't have a strategy. They didn't have so what we'd like.
Intervention. It wasn't a good one.
Exactly. They didn't know anything about interventions. They didn't know anything about that. I actually didn't know what the end, I was like, what do you want? Because it wasn't like, so we'd like you to go to rehab. I would have been like, so what you're saying is I can stop working and go hang out someplace where things get paid for 30 days? Let's go. But I didn't need rehab. They also had no idea what they were doing. So ultimately, my father made a statement about, I'm going to tell the truth. This is my memory, which could be very much not the case. Mm-hmm. My memory is that my father said to me, I've invested so much in you and you're kind of a loser. And, I've paid for your education. I've paid for all your education. I've helped you in every way that a human being could be helped. What are you doing? And that clicked. And it was like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to. So my marriage, I thought the marriage would make me happy. I thought the job would make me happy. I thought health would make me happy. Here's what I need to do. I just need to make my dad happy. And then everything will be fine. And that's what got me to quit drinking. And that is not what kept me not drinking. About 6 months after I quit drinking, my ex-husband informed me that he had a medical situation that was really serious and shocking. My sponsor, because I work a program through the 12-step program, my sponsor called me to say she was going to go drink again. And I had shared this information with my parents, and my dad wrote me an email and he said, look, good job. You've really shown some willpower here. But no one meant for you to never, ever, ever drink again. Mm. So why don't you go back to drinking? Just do it. Right. Why don't you just moderate? Why don't you moderate? So in other words, I'd gotten what I was looking for. I wanted my dad to say, I'm proud of you. He said, I'm proud of you. Now you can go back to drinking. And I said, no, I can't. And I didn't have a sponsor that day. And my ex-husband was in a bad spot. I could have just been like, everybody has given me, and I realized this is doing for me what I can't do for myself. And nothing was better on the outside. I was unemployed at that point. But I was like, this is the only thing that's going to make anything else better. Mm-hmm. And some people have a story that has to do with rehab or arrest or DUI. where they're sort of forced in. So I think if I had kept drinking, something would have happened. But when you live in New York City, you're not going to get a DUI.
Yeah.
I was 35 years old, so it wasn't like I was going to get like a drunken disorder. Like I just like sat at home and drank.
Well, you could
But
still be
something
drinking.
more-
You never know, you know.
I'd be dead at this point because
Probably.
if I had gone through those surgeries
Yeah.
while still drinking, I would have never been able to recover. My first surgery was done incorrectly. It was botched.
Ugh.
And 2.5 weeks after the first surgery, I had to have another massive surgery. If I had been drinking after they let me out of the hospital from the first surgery, there's no way.
They might not have even, you know, your doctors might not have even managed anything. If you had any, you know, if they took your blood and you had sugar, you know, blood.
Well, you know what? I probably would have been smart enough not to drink that next day or, you know, before blood. But would have been, I mean, my liver counts were not great at that time in general. So here we are. And life, you know, I always say this. Just because I'm sober doesn't mean it isn't going to rain.
Right.
But what it does mean is I'll probably have an umbrella with me.
Right. I think one of the things that the 12-step programs do for people, first of all, they're spiritual. So not religious, spiritual. So it adds a spiritual element. And in many cases, part of the problem of drinking is that there appears to be no reason, period. There's just no reason. You know, it's like you don't have a moral compass to tell you, you know, spiritually I'm destroying myself. And AA gives you that it introduces you to who you are, who you spiritually could be, that spiritual person. It does it through, you know, you find your maker. That's important. And I think that's important for everybody. It's not God. It's not Catholic. It's not Jesus.
Everybody
it's not.
You have to go through a 12-step program.
I think so.
Period.
I think that the 12-step program can be implemented at school in a different way. I think the 12 steps, I mean, every single step has, it's like the 10 Commandments. Every single step has an actionable item that it introduces you to that moral compass.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it teaches you how to apologize.
And then not do it again. It's one thing to apologize. It's something else to say, I'm amending my behavior and I don't behave that way anymore. And if you do, you have the right to come at me and tell me you're doing that thing again.
Right.
So I didn't say it before, but now that you brought it up, there's a lot of misnomers, you know, that this thing that I'm a part of is a cult. If it is, I'd probably be the cult leader. You know, if it were a cult, I'd be leading it because that's my personality.
It can't be a cult because everybody has a different belief.
And it's free and you come and go as you want. But here's the thing I didn't mention before. I said to you, number one, once you start, you can't stop. Number two, once you stop, you start again. On my own, I'm screwed. Because once I start, I can't stop. Once I stop, I start again. Without the intervention of something bigger than me, I alone, for 9.5 years, have not drank. So if that's disgusting to somebody to think, and something bigger than me could be the ocean. It could be, I have somebody I know who it's the corners of a room because there are always corners in a room. One of the ones I always think about also is the internet. How is it that you and I are sitting in totally different places and we've got video and audio and it's happening? I don't know, but it's true. Another one is breathing. You weren't thinking about it until I just mentioned it, but it's happening.
Yes.
If you can believe that something bigger than you is in charge, what it allows me to do is to stop drinking in a panic going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because it's like, it's not all on me.
Right.
I have to show up, do my part, be a good human, put one foot in front of the other. I can't sit on the couch eating bonbons and wonder why I haven't lost weight. But if I'm doing my part, I'm not in the results business. I do my part and what happens is what happens. And I found that to be a huge relief.
Yeah. That's what
I thought it was all on me.
That's why 12 steps work for a whole load of issues. Because once you, it's just, I don't know. There's something about the organization itself. It's the meeting. It is sponsorship, because the friendship, that connectivity is very important,
It's accountability.
right? Accountability.
That's a sponsor. It's fellowship, right? Meeting other people, being in person with them, but it's also the 12 steps. So it's like you're continuously learning something. You're being held accountable, and you're sharing it with other people in real time.
Right.
That works.
I never through the 3 years that I was doing Al-Anon, I never spoke once. Not once. And the only reason I couldn't speak to them was the stories that they shared horrified me. And I thought that if I came back to tell them my story, they would think that I was oversimplifying it, or that I thought that I was better than them, because they would tell me stories. I mean, I couldn't believe that they had surrendered.
Yep.
And it's something that I had never done. I had never surrendered. I just was living. I had just put myself in the box, but I never locked the door. And I realized I got to get out of this box. This is not where I want to be. I had never locked the door. I would always peek out.
Yep.
But I always went back in the box.
But that's what saved you, was the fact that you didn't lock. There was always that bit of you that was sort of that no colon still rolling.
I guess I was lucky. I don't know. Different lucky. I don't know what it was. But I was certainly I was certainly addicted to marijuana. I was certainly addicted to marijuana. And I gave up marijuana just as it was legalized.
Yeah.
And my husband said to me, he goes, do you realize what you just did? I'm like, sorry.
Look, alcohol's been legal the whole time. It probably wouldn't be now.
The funny thing is, I know through the steps, they teach you to be compassionate with other people that are drinking. I have no compassion for anybody who's drinking and does stupid, shitty things. I literally, I'm cold. I'm horrible, because I will go. First of all, I cannot do social things with people drinking. I cannot do them, because I feel within 45 minutes, I'm talking to a bunch of idiots, and I'm out. That
part is correct.
So when there are parties, when there are, there's marriages, there's weddings, there's all these parties, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I'm cold. A lot of people would go and have a good time. I look around and I'm thinking to myself, oh, that one's got a problem. This is not good. There's going to be a problem. I want to be, either I don't want to be a fly in the wall, or I do want to be a fly in the wall. This one going home, this is not good.
And it's interesting, because I was like that for a little while. And then one of the many things, obviously this is becoming a love fest for 12-step programs. One of the most important qualities or rules is that it's a program of attraction rather than promotion. So I don't go seeing the blacked out person at the party or the wedding or the thing and say, like, once you start, can you not stop? And once you stop, do you keep doing it again? Because they're like, I'm good. Thank you. And that's why this isn't a cult, because we do not tell people to quit drinking.
Right.
There's a lot of people in my life that I'm the only person they know that's sober.
Right.
So one of the rules of this program that I'm a part of is that we don't talk about it. I'm supposed to be anonymous, because this is just my experience. I don't speak on behalf of every person on the planet Earth who's a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is my experience. This is my program. But I know that people know I'm sober. And some of those people are clients, and some of those people are family members or friends of friends. But I don't go around saying, who wants to get sober?
Yeah. Right.
What they see me living my life with integrity, with honesty, with vulnerability. And if they want what I have, they're going to ask me what I did. If they don't, I show up looking like a braggart or like I'm, I found Jesus, I'm saved.
Right.
So one of the things that we do is we don't say anything unless somebody asks us about it. Now, I have clients that will say to me, I don't get it, Rebecca. We're doing all this work together and I hear what you're saying and I want to change, but I can't quite make the leap. And I'll say, do you drink and do drugs?
Yeah.
Because that's why. And you can do whatever you want with that. I'm part of a 12.
See the same thing. I often see the same thing. I think to myself silently, oh, I bet they're drinking.
And they know that I'm sober. So they know I've had a handful of clients that who have just stopped drinking while we're working together. And I have 4 clients I can think of off the top of my head who joined a 12-step program. And the difference is everything. One white knuckles and doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah.
And the other one has a solution. And so I do see people in my immediate family that I'm like, woo. And they look at me at the same party and I'm able to have fun without alcohol. And if they're interested in what that might look like for them, they're going to ask me. But until then, do you know the resentment that would come with like, so I think the fact that you've blacked out every time I've seen you for the last 20 years might indicate that you have a problem with alcohol. They'd be like, yeah, get out of here, you like prissy, like, it doesn't work. They have to want it.
You 12-step program you. I try to, one of my things in life is, joy, don't judge, show some compassion. I have to talk to myself. And I suspect it's because I've been although I've been the one drinking and smoking, I've also been the one on the other side having to deal with, okay, I have to drive home, or I have to make the decision, or I have to go buy the bottle, or I have to go clean up the mess, or, having to do all those things, having lived with the alcoholic. So yeah. I hate it from all angles. I hate what it did to me.
Mm-hmm. You have a lot of resentment.
I have a lot of resentment. And I don't hate the people. I just hate the alcohol.
Yep.
I honestly hate the alcohol as if it were a nasty
person. Yeah.
Like
an abusive partner.
Just go to hell. And now I have a resentment for it. And I do. I really do. I have incredible resentment. A lot of people have said, oh, just one drink. Or, a lot of people say the same thing to you, I'm sure. Come on, can't you just have a drink? No, nor do I want to at this point.
Well, what I'll say is, oh, yeah, absolutely. Or when they say, oh, you don't drink, what happened? I'll be like, oh, I used to drink. I lost my privilege. If I could have one drink, I'd have a drink. Lord knows what's going to happen when I have a drink.
Yeah, really.
That I can't do.
Yeah.
Successfully.
Right. I also really did not like the person I became on alcohol.
Oh, gosh.
Every time I look back, I do regret half the things I said and did, but I think to myself, it may be who I am today. So, power to me. But things I said and did, I'm thinking to myself, really? Did
Mm-mm. Like, mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Putting myself in so many situations that I can't even begin to fathom.
And I can still do that, to be clear. One of the things you talked about is like everyone should have a template for apologizing. The steps are in order for a reason, and some people who aren't part of this know all about them. Most people know about the amends, and they don't know that that's the 9th step out of 12 steps. And you don't just stop drinking and start apologizing. Because I'll tell you what, if I just stopped drinking and started apologizing, I wouldn't have understood why I behaved that way. And one of the things that we say is, you have my word that I will not behave that way again. And I've got to know why I behaved that way in order to not just say sorry for that thing that I did, but to say, and I won't do it again. Yeah. And I think that it's such a journey of understanding who you are, what has brought you here. But instead of getting to that point, like my childhood was hard, so my parents are alcoholics. So it's like, cool, good story. One of the things I spend very, very little time thinking about is why? Why am I not? Is it genetic? Is it not? Is it because of this? I'm here. And what I'm much more interested in is figuring out how to live without alcohol than sit there and go, but why? But why me? Why did this happen? And what the steps help people to do is to not only just stop drinking, but to start to understand why they were drinking and how to create a life in which you can face the things that made you want to drink to not face them. And then help other people do the same thing.
It's once you live a life dependent on something,
right?
So, are you dependent on your spouse, mother, fathers, whatever, to make you happy? That's not good. Right? So now you go to substance, and then it becomes quite. I mean, it's bad enough that you are relying on someone else to make you happy, or you're relying on someone else to make the money, and you're just, God forbid something should happen and you're penniless. Right. I guess the point is that what I'm saying is you simply don't have a frame. You have no framework. You're sort of, especially when it becomes a substance, it's really, because it's not even a person, it's a thing. It becomes
designed to be addictive. It's not because you don't have enough willpower. It's designed to, like, don't think you're a loser. It's designed. Cigarettes, caffeine, alcohol.
Right. Same thing with cigarettes. It was cool to smoke, so I smoked for a little while, and I was like, these are disgusting, and I stopped. The end. Like, one day, never smoked again. My mother smoked, my father smoked, my sister smokes, so I smoked. And I was like, these are disgusting. And I've also said, but I like marijuana, so I'll smoke that instead. And I that with cigarettes. Yeah. 6 o'clock in the morning, I was smoking pot. Yeah. That's just like
what could go wrong? That's a perfect strategy.
Exactly. I was telling my husband, stop drinking, and he was looking at me and saying, really?
Yeah.
And I realized that. I was like, I got to shut up, because I'm not, I'm not walking the walk here. I'm just talking. So, and then when I stopped, I realized I could do this. Why can't he do this? And there was a little bit of, there was a lot of resentment going on. And that's, joining Ellen, and I realized that some people, it's a switch. It's a switch that goes off. I mean, I realized that when I didn't have to drink the next day, but if I opened the bottle, I couldn't not finish it. And also I realized if I have a cookie in a sleeve, I'm eating all the cookies.
All of them.
Right?
I'm an alcoholic. As it relates to Oreo cookies, as it relates to...
open a bag of M&Ms. Oh, ugh. So I realized, okay, so I realized that I have issues there. It's not as critical as his, because perhaps I'm a deeper thinker, or perhaps I'm already doing a 12-step program on my own. Perhaps. Maybe that's what it is, that, that he is not. And I just tried to get him to, think about it. And he said to me, I cannot sit in a room with other people moaning and groaning about themselves. And I thought to myself, that's what a lot of the sessions are. And you have to find the right session.
I also think it's about a lot of people coming together and being like, look at this miraculous thing I'm walking through. My mother just died, and I'm not out drinking. I'm here.
How many different meetings did you have to cycle through before you found your meeting?
Yeah. A piece of advice is go to a bunch of meetings. If you go to one meeting and you don't like it, it's not that you don't like a 12-step program. It's that those people in that way don't work.
That's the point. And and
you'll find there's a meeting for everybody.
The point is, it is the people that are helping you through the problem. It is the connection and the fact that they're following a framework, which everyone should have a framework.
And some people They do.
Well, if you do,
Like
if you are a believer in God, if you are a good Christian, if you're, a good Jew, a good Muslim, whatever, if you're any of these things, perhaps you are so spiritually guided that you're able to pull away because you realize that the maker doesn't, isn't, at the bottom of the bottle. You realize that, and you can pull away, or it's just not part of that that group of people, so you're never exposed to it, right? So, when was the last time you were at, a Muslim sorority where everybody's drunk? I mean, that doesn't happen. Right. And the same thing, doesn't happen in some groups, but
I also know a lot of people that have deep faith and are in the active grips of alcoholism.
Yes, I do too.
Because faith and spirituality can a lot of times be very different than an abiding belief in your creator. Because if you still think it's on you, it doesn't matter.
And a lot of there's a lot in the Bible that talks about wine. So they'll say, "Oh, it's in the Bible, I can drink."
Yep.
Right. So so they'll make excuses, and again, I have this historical worldview of alcohol, right? And I think to myself, okay, so at some point in time, there was some grain or some honey that was in some water, and it fermented, and they drank it, and they were like, "Wow!" And there we go. It was invented. And the same thing happened with the grapes, and the same thing happened with the grain.
Yep.
And then they combined them all, and they made one hell of a concoction. It was called a cocktail, and those became fashionable. And I think to myself, okay, so there is a medicinal purpose here. As my doctor, I went to my doctor once, and I get eye tics. When I work and I get stressed out, I get eye tics. So I went to the doctor, and he said, "Have a cocktail." And I'm like, "No.
Not me.
No." And then he said, "Okay, just drink the tonic water." And I'm like, phew.
Yeah.
No, I understood. He was, there is a medicinal value, and this happened to be in the tonic water, not necessarily the gin and tonic or the vodka and tonic. It's just drink the tonic.
Yep, just the tonic.
Just the tonic. So, and I do have a bottle of quinine in my quinine extract. So, in any case, so I do wonder, I'm like, everything has a medicinal value, and everything on this earth can be taken into extreme. And it's not necessarily that, there's a God and a devil, and the devil's like saying, bad people, go kill yourselves. No, it's just that we just need to recognize that there's a medicinal value for it. So I'm not saying that, you need to drink it when you're not feeling well, but alcohol will clean a cut. Right. So, if your arm falls off and you have no alcohol, you could buy yourself a bottle of whiskey and rub it on the wound, and you could take care of it. So discounting it completely. No, drinking it, I'm not going there, but I'm just saying. And I do think that some people, and they have it with food, some people just need to learn that they have an inability to turn some stuff off. I don't know what else to say.
Yep.
And I'd say that we all have that. We all have that. It's just what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. Because some people bet. Some people cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Some people lie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I could go on and on and on. And I don't see there's anything, you drink, you cheat. Those are two bad things.
Yep. When I drink, I do cheat, so to me.
But there are people that lie all the time, that cheat all the time.
I have to imagine anyone who's still listening 54 minutes into this chat.
Yeah, really.
Agrees that there can be an argument one way or the other. What I'm talking about is that for me, if you can eat intuitively, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, eat. If you can drink and stop when you want to, and if you have a bad experience, not do it again, drink. I lost the privilege because, for example, if I ate a peanut and it caused a response that was unpleasant, you're not going to hear me saying, well, it's Friday, I deserve another peanut, or let me mix my peanuts with water, or I can have a peanut an hour, or it's my birthday, let me have a peanut, right? There's things I can moderate. The things I can't moderate, I don't play around with them.
I think we all need to be aware of that. It's not, we're not better or worse. It's not a matter of that. And it's not, why me and not why someone else. I'd say that, as I said, we are all vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with that. I had another conversation with somebody else today, and it came down to responsibility. It's not a dirty word. And once you say, I want to take responsibility for myself, and you realize I'm not able to do it in this area, then reach out for a little bit of help. It's not a horrible thing to do that. It's not a horrible thing to say, I have an issue with lying, with cheating, with drinking, with eating, with organizing my life. I need a coach. It's not a horrible thing to say, I can't organize myself. I know I can do some good here. I cannot organize the day. My house is cluttered. How about people who hoard? My house is cluttered with stuff. You have to recognize and say, that's probably not a good thing. Yeah. And it becomes embarrassing over time. And now you've got a house full. And right? So we're all vulnerable. We all got stuff going on. Nobody's perfect. I really don't think that while I do hate alcohol, I do realize, and I am very compassionate, and I do realize we're all running around on this earth trying to figure it out.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a beautiful thing when we can hold hands and sing Kumbaya and figure it out.
And I may have one thing figured out and you have something else figured out, and that's just the way life works.
Exactly.
And that's, the humility.
That's right.
Courage to change the things I can. That's right. The wisdom to know the difference.
I might not be good at anything except I can make one hell of a good omelet. And someday you want that omelet.
You're going to want it. And if you want it, you can have it. Yeah, I agree. All of this whole conversation, this whole thing, to me, it's about surrender and acceptance.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting anything, my health, my career, my merit, it is, now what am I going to do about it? And the answer for me has been, do something.
The old expression, pick your battles. It's like, why are you trying to push the rock uphill every day? When are you going to realize at the end of the day, the rock rolls down? Yep. I got to roll it up the next day.
Yep.
That's not the battle I want to fight.
Yep. There's other things that I'm uniquely suited to do.
Yeah. So I would say for anyone who's got these difficulties, the first thing is to realize it. The second thing is to forgive yourself, because you know better or worse than anybody else. The moment you realize it and forgive yourself and say, okay, what do I do? That's the next step. What do I do? And then act on it. And I like your esteemable action, because it's not, you don't go to the store and buy it, and it's not a whole bunch all at once. One step at a, that's, the whole thing, one step at a time. You take one step and you do it right, and you're like, wow, I did it. Woohoo.
Or I didn't do it right, and now I know not to do it again.
Right. And I'm going to take the next step.
The one thing I will add to what you said, which I think is one of the most important things. As soon as you realize you don't got it, that's the best day of your life. What's the very next thing to do? Ask for help. Yeah. If you don't got it, then you can't fix it.
Right. And keep looking for help, because it may take a little time.
Yeah, you may not be where you were looking.
Yeah, you're unique, and you are unique. While there are many people that have the same issues going on, you are unique. The way you think is unique. You need to find that accent, the one that thinks like you, so that you could say, "Oh, we get it." Again, connection is very important
in all aspects of life.
In all aspects of life, and there's nothing worse than having to go through life miserable with a negative connection that's festering.
Yep.
So, you are a coach, and I do want people to get the benefit of how to connect with you.
Yes. Okay, a few ways.
Yes.
The easiest thing is going to be, my name is like a tongue twister, but it's actually perfectly phonetical. So the easiest thing is just go to my website, which is Rebecca Babcock Coaching. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Instagram. Mm-hmm. But I think the most simple thing to do is just go to the website. There'll be, connection there to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to Instagram, to all these other things. I love to, and you'll see there's a part that says, hey, want to talk about chronic illness? Want to talk about addiction? Want to talk about something that has nothing to do with coaching for yourself? Cool. If I can be of service, or I can help you find somebody who would be helpful to you, it's my honor. That's how I got here, asking for help and taking it.
Service is yet another, not a dirty word, like responsibility, service. We like to, we have a negative connotation because women are constantly in service, but it's a good thing to be in service to something else, to something bigger. It's not so bad, as long as it's not being abused.
Exactly. Well, is the service for you, or is it for somebody else? So
there you go.
Speaking of,
yes,
I'm going to go right now to a meeting where I'm going to be of service, sharing my experience, strength, and hope with some people. So
very good.
Here we go.
Blessings to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.